Wanna talk? So let's talk. Here. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk.
Good evening, and welcome. It's time for Talk to Solomon. Thanks for joining us. We know your time is valuable. My name is Stan Solomon. I'm the host.
I'm the co-host, Chief Steve.
Former Police Chief Steve Davis, and also co-hosting tonight is our friend Brent Johnson, calling from parts unknown. Hello, Brent.
Hi there, Stan. It's a pleasure to be with you. Hi, Steve. How are you doing?
Great. How about you?
Our guest this first half hour is a former guest, General James Hutchens. I'm not sure exactly the title, but he was the chief chaplain. General, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Stan. How you doing?
Thank you for joining us. Now, everyone's paying attention or starting to pay attention to this thing called an election. It's now an election with a decision we made between Romney on the Republican side and Obama on the Democrat side. A major issue has been Israel. And Israel and the Jewish vote, and also Israel and, if you will, whether or not the world will go to war. We've heard all kinds of rumors, and we don't know what is or is not true because we don't get the truth out of this administration. It's your guess or my guess or anyone else's guess. But Romney just left Israel. He made this statement in no uncertain terms that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Could you comment on that?
I think that was a bold statement, and I think it was a statement that really needed to be made. The president is not, excuse me, the president has refused to do that, most recently by his press secretary, Jay Carney, last week when he was asked, would you say Israel's capital is Jerusalem, and he refused to do that. This is absolutely ridiculous. Jerusalem has been the capital of Jews and Israel for millennia. And to try to minimize the reality of that is going to fail. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a conference here in Washington. It was sponsored by the International Israel Allies Caucus. And there were several voices, Jewish voices, some Christian, that were speaking to this issue. And they were basically saying that it's time now for Israel to annex Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. This has been so-called the disputed territories since 1967. In 1948, you're aware of this, I'm sure, when Israel declared its independence, there were 5 Arab nations that attacked Israel. And when the ceasefire ended, Jordan was occupying. That's a term I'm using. They were occupying land that had originally been designated by the British mandate for Israel, for the Jewish people, a homeland for the Jewish people. That was recaptured in 1967, and it's been disputed since then. This was land that has a legal title and a legal basis stemming all the way back to the end of World War I, with the League of Nations making a decision that Britain would be mandated this to provide a national home for the Jews. So to see Governor Romney go there and make this statement, especially in the wake of what the president has done, I think it's a bold statement. I think it's a necessary statement, and I hope that he'll stick to his guns on this.
All right. I know that Brent is straining at the bit. Brent, your thoughts?
No, actually, I have very little to say on this. You know that I have certain issues with the state of Israel and with the government of Israel, while I'm also very well, scripturally speaking, very well read, and I very much believe in the chosen people. I'm just not certain that the state of Israel is the avenue to the chosen people. In terms of the capital, I really have very little to say on this. It is a disputed territory, and Israel coming out and saying there's no dispute and just declaring that it's ours doesn't necessarily change the dispute. You and I can have a dispute, and I can say, well, there's no dispute, I'm right, and that doesn't necessarily make it so. Using their power, their force, to enforce their will is just another way of saying might makes right. So, I'm not really sure where to go with this at this point in time. For me, it's a wait and see situation.
Chief?
Well, I don't think it's a bold statement at all that Romney made. I think it's a very easy statement because you just simply have to pick between freedom and peace and Israel, or terror and war and inhumanities with Islam and Iran and Iraq. So I don't really see the big issue here. It's an easy statement for me to say I stand with Israel.
Well, let me say that of the group here, I happen to be Jewish. I was raised in a very Orthodox Jewish environment, and I would agree with the general that next year let it be in Jerusalem has been the cry of all Jews worldwide since the Jews left Egypt thousands of years prior to the birth of Christ. The Palestinians are a made-up people. They never were there. They were planted there. They traveled there. And they are basically only there because the other Arab countries wouldn't let them assimilate and move. And many of them have been murdered by Arabs, many more by Arabs than by Jews by 1,000 to 1. So here's the bottom line. Either we stand for something or we'll fall for anything. And I think Obama falls in that category. General?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's obvious the tack that he's taken. He's made an appeal to basically appease the Muslim world since he's been in. His Cairo statement when he first became a president, that set the precedent for what he's done ever since then. But Brent referred to let's wait and see. My sense is this, that there's going to be a Middle East war. I don't think it's a matter of if, but when. And I think that this is going to be a determinative war. And I believe that Israel's going to do what's necessary to make a statement that Hezbollah is going to understand if there's anything left, and that Hamas is going to understand if there's anything left there. All of Israel's wars have come to a conclusion by a ceasefire, an imposed ceasefire. And my sense is, and I don't have last word in intelligence on this, but my sense is that Israel recognizes that this next war is going to be a game changer for everybody because of what's going to be involved. Iran's going to be involved. Hamas, Hezbollah is going to be involved, possibly Syria. But it's not going to go on like this. And let's face it, there are nuclear weapons that are involved there, that will be involved sooner or later. Sooner or later. I don't know when. But Israel doesn't admit to it, but everybody knows that they have them. And, of course, we know the concerns that the world has regarding Iran finally getting nuclear capability. But I'm sensing, and I may have mentioned this to you before, I don't know, but my last visit to Israel, I had an opportunity to talk to some of the intelligence gathering people, to some of the Mossad people, that's their CIA, the Shin Bet people, that's their FBI, and a number of IDF officers. And to a person, they said, we don't expect, we're not looking for, we're not planning for peace with the Palestinians because we know they don't want it. They don't want a two-state solution. Everybody's talking about a two-state solution. The Palestinians don't want it. And they have said that we believe, and this is the terminology that they use, we believe that we can contain or manage the conflict. And that's precisely what they're doing today. And I think they have the capability to continue to do that for the foreseeable future regarding whatever they face weapon-wise.
Well, I think you've hit upon something, but I'm going to approach it from a different way, then we'll go around the horn. There were plans, shall we say, exposed, that this administration said, oh no, that's not legitimate. I believe that the Obama administration will launch a military attack on Iran under the guise of stopping nuclear proliferation, as President Carter is so happy to discuss with his 11-year-old. And I think they'll do it in September, at the very latest, early October, but probably September, because they want there to be an ongoing war, thinking that will help them to be reelected. Once they are reelected, they don't care if Israel wins or survives or not. That's my opinion. And I think Israel knows it. And I think that when the attack is launched, they'll blame Israel for initiating it. That's my opinion. Chief?
Yes, and I want to make a comment here to all of the Christians that are watching. Like myself, a Christian, if you're a Christian, you're a Jew. You're a Jew first and a Christian second, because Jesus Christ was a Jew. So you better look real hard at what you need to do here to support Israel. Also, Barack Hussein Obama, just the name alone tells you where he stands. And if Barack Hussein Obama is a Muslim, Muslims are allowed to lie to get their way. So if that, and he has already, time and time again, shown his support for the Muslim community, especially those that have terrorism in their back pockets. So this choice is between Barack Hussein Obama, who supports the Muslim terrorists, and Mitt Romney, who supports Israel. It's an easy choice to make.
Brad?
Let me just respond. Can I respond, Chief?
Go ahead.
I thank you for that word, Chief. I define myself unashamedly as a Christian Zionist. And by a Christian Zionist, I mean I support the modern state of Israel as a partial fulfillment of what God has promised by covenant to the Jewish people regarding a national homeland. And I would say to you, just by way of disclosure, I'm on the board of the National Association of Evangelicals, who claim to represent some 80 million evangelicals across this country. Now, all of those people aren't pro-Israel or Christian Zionists, but I would guess conservatively that at least half of them are. And this is the heartland of America that stands with Israel as Christians based upon the scriptures. So I just wanted to throw that in, and thank you for your mentioning that.
Right, and someone might talk about Revelation. The fact is, until the temple is rebuilt in Israel, there will be no second coming. So Israel is tied in to the New Testament, just as it was inherent and essential in the Old Testament. Brent?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and like Stan, I was also raised Jewish, not Orthodox, conservative, but nonetheless, I am Jewish as well. Nonetheless, I am not a supporter of Israel, and that doesn't mean I'm a supporter of, Muslim terrorism either. I'm a supporter of liberty and the rule of law. I do not believe that the state of Israel has any claim to any moral high ground. It may be true that the Palestinians have engaged in all kinds of horrendous activity against Israel. But Israel has also engaged in terrorist-type activity against Lebanon and Palestinians and Iran and Iraq and whatever else. I believe that the land of God, that the teachings of God are teachings for peace. The lion lies down with the lamb and all of that. So I do not necessarily accept blindly that Israel has the moral high ground and whatever Israel does is all right. I look at Israel, the state itself, I look at the state with a skeptical and a clinical and a critical eye throughout all of these proceedings. Whatever war does come, and I agree with the general, I think there is going to be war. I also think, and the general I'm sure knows this, that Israel is well armed with nuclear weapons. Israel is not a part of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It has not agreed to be a part of it. It has nuclear weapons. We all know that, even though it hasn't declared the nuclear weapons. Yet nobody is out there being concerned that Israel might drop some bombs, just like we dropped bombs on Hiroshima. Israel could drop bombs, and just because you say the Muslims are terrorists doesn't mean that Israel has the right to do such things. I'm very concerned at a war in that part of the world because I'm concerned what Israel will do in such a war.
Israel has had nuclear weapons for 25 years, and they've never utilized them, even though there have been horrendous incidents take place. We were right to drop the bomb on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and we should have done more. We should have ended the war sooner by doing what needed to be done. And anyone who wants to argue that that was not the right act, I'm glad to take them on because they're wrong. 100, not 99% wrong, they're 100% wrong. That any Japanese survived their acts during World War II is grace from God, not anything they earned. Now, let's get back to the general. General, let us now talk about the reality that is in existence. We have 250 million Arabs, 99% of whom would like to see every Jew dead, if not 99.9. And we have the Jews knowing that they can only lose once and they're all dead. There is no compromise. There will be no quarter. There will be no mercy. Am I overstating that fact?
I think you're absolutely right. I think the glue that holds the Arab world together is basically its hatred for the Jew and for Israel. If that weren't the case, there'd be a constant infighting. There is constant infighting between the various elements of Islam, the Shiites, the Sunnis, the Alawites, and so on. But if they didn't, but the thing that brings them all together in a concentrated effort, a concentrated purpose, and that purpose is to wipe out Israel, wipe them off the map. And that's not going to change. And Israel recognized that. I want to go back to what you said earlier, Stan. You felt that that the president might do something that would start a war. I think that is a very likely possibility. I think this president is desperate at this point. The polls are coming against him. Even their own spokesmen are recognizing the increasing difficulty he's going to have to get reelected. And I think what you said, I've been saying this for some time, that out of desperation, he might start something with Iran, believing that the American people would not change commanders-in-chief in a time of war. I hope that's not the case, but I wouldn't put anything back past President Obama on this. I think that's a very likely possibility. And
I don't think he cares who wins, who loses, who lives, and who dies, as long as it's not him, of course. He would be very comfortable, in my humble opinion. Chief?
You're absolutely right. And again, Barack Hussein Obama was raised as a Muslim. His name at one time was changed to Barry. When he became a young adult, he changed it back to Barack, which is a Muslim rite that young men do. They take on a Muslim name. And if he is favoring the Muslim faith, Muslims are allowed to lie. He could be lying to everyone right now. And so lying about starting a war would be nothing for him to do.
Well, I also think it's important to note that Israel has said it didn't happen, but most intelligence folks are saying, in fact, it did happen, that Israel's plans for, or contingencies for dealing with Iran were leaked by this administration, which has leaked everything else, to Iran. General, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's becoming increasingly well known. That people are trying to hold the leakers accountable, but that's going to be very difficult to do in this setting, this political setting, especially before the election. But I don't think there's any question that happened. Even Senator Feinstein, who's the head of the Intelligence Committee in the Senate, said, this came out of the White House. Some of this had to come out of the White House. And but what they're going to do about it, there'll be some stonewalling and putting this off. There won't be a solution before the election. I'm sure of that. But I think it did happen. I want to say also, with regard to Israel's war-making capacity, it's well known, and I'm sure you're aware of this. It's well known that Israel has what it calls the Samson option. And the Samson option is basically based upon the story from Samson. After he was captured and blinded and lost his strength, he asked to be put between the pillars of the Palestinian temple.
The Philistine, not Palestinian.
Philistine. Actually, the Palestinians made that word comes from the Philistines.
Yes, I understand.
But anyway, and they have said if they see that they're going to go down, if they see that the enemy that they face is going to overpower them and win it, there's going to be a lot that they take down with them when they go. That's what they call the Samson option. So it's there are brutal days ahead in the Middle East, and Israel is right in the middle of it. There's an initial victory that the prophets speak of, and I must say, I read the newspaper with the Bible in my other hand, because I think that's the trump card of Israel that they basically refuse to play. Whenever they talk about the land given to them in the Bible by the God of Israel, Palestinians just go berserk. They just they can't handle that. They're deeply offended, as they say. But that's the ultimate trump card that Israel has. And personally, I'd like to see them use it more. Begin used it. Shamir, the prime minister just died recently, former prime minister just died recently, used that unashamedly. And I think Israel should do that today as well.
All right, let me ask you, Brent, to start the conversation on how Jews will vote, how Jews will employ and deploy during this election cycle, in your opinion.
I think that there are probably a fair number of Jewish voters who, based upon what Romney did with declaring Jerusalem the capital, will automatically vote for Romney. I think that there are certain number of Jews who will vote just based on that single issue, but I don't think it's necessarily all of them. In today's complex days, in which there's internet access for so much information, there will be other factors. Just because someone's Jewish, they won't automatically vote just based on that. And, Romney has to deal with the allegations about the Bain thing, though I don't think that's going to go very far. Personally, I think that Obama is not going to get in. I think he has alienated the globalists. I think he has alienated a large number of the people who voted him in, the black people, some of the Christians, certainly the Jews. I think he's alienated enough different factions, that, as well as his alienation of the globalists, that I don't think he's going to get in. But I think the general is right that if Obama believes he's not going to get reelected, he may well flip the switch on some kind of a military action. And if so, it could well be in Iran and in the Middle East.
All right, Chief, your thoughts on the Jewish vote in the upcoming election?
Stan and I've talked about this before, and I'm totally perplexed by the Jewish vote, and as Brent mentioned, the black vote, because I'm hard pressed to find many Jews that will not vote for people that are trying to destroy them, and the same with the black community. Barack Obama has decimated the black community and supports Planned Parenthood and other groups which are destroying unborn black children. And in those two groups, I don't understand it, but for some reason they continue to vote for people that want to exterminate them.
I'll throw this in, and we'll have the general have the final say. I believe there are two kinds of Jews: those who believe in God and those who think they're God. And I believe that those who think they're God are the majority. These people have an investment in ignorance, an investment in insolence to God, an investment in infamy, if you will. And they are for homosexuality, they're for abortion, they're for fornication, they're for adultery, they're for all things untoward, and they fervently believe in that, and they don't believe anyone should tell them that what they want to do is wrong. They have started every negative movement in this country, whether it's the nuclear freeze movement or the hug a tree movement or the fornicate with your dog movement. I don't know if you knew about that one. But my point is that I believe that Barack Obama has managed to take a group so far up his butt that a suppository wouldn't touch him and to expel them. And he will lose the majority of the Jewish vote, as impossible as that seemed when they were so excited to put him in to prove they weren't as prejudiced as they really were. General.
Yeah, there's a really compelling book entitled "Why Jews Are Liberal," and it's written by John Podhoretz. He's former editor of Commentary magazine. And his basic analysis, he concludes that Jews are liberal. He's speaking American Jews. They're more reformed Jews than there are anybody else in the United States. But basically, they have left Judaism, and they've adopted as their religion the basic platform of the Democratic Party. And so they're liberal. They stand for all these things that you mentioned. Now, I think Israel is a huge factor in this, and I agree with Brent that he's not going to get the size of the Jewish vote that he got before. He'll probably get the majority, unfortunately, but he'll not get as many as he got the last time. I think the same thing is true of the blacks. He'll get the majority of the black vote. I was just watching on television, there was a group of black pastors that are coming against Obama primarily because of his endorsing of same-sex marriage. And that doesn't work in the black community. I mean, there are a lot of things that do work, but that's not one of them. And he's going to lose a lot of black votes, and I think he'll lose a lot of Jewish votes because of his stand on Israel, and rightly so. I hope there's more that he loses, frankly.
General, we thank you so much for your time. We look forward to having you back. Now, again, what is your title? Or what title do you retire from?
I'm the president of the Jerusalem Connection.us. That's our website. Have your viewers go to our website. We've got a free email newsletter we send out every Friday. We've got a video on some hot button issue regarding Israel that we send out every Tuesday. The Jerusalem Connection.us. I'm the president.
And what is the name of your video that you have out?
We call it the Spot Report. It's something new every Tuesday. I do it, and or our vice president. We've got an attractive young lady who does some of these as well. She's doing matter of fact, she's doing a series of 4 right now on Christian Zionism, why she's a Christian Zionist.
Well, that sounds exciting, but don't tell our owner that you have an attractive partner, because he won't want you on anymore. He'll only want your partner. He has that problem that we're still working on. All right, General, thank you so much for your time, sir. Appreciate your stands. Agree with you. I would say more than Brett does, but that is in your favor. We'll be back shortly with another guest. Thank you, General, and everyone else, stay tuned.
Good to be with you.
You have a computer, if you're alive today, which means you have a hard drive, which means it's going to break down. Mosey, the backup people, for thousands, for Stan, for thousands of people, for tens of thousands of people, is simply common sense. You go to cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and sign up. It's just a few dollars a month. Let me tell you something. We had a break-in. They stole our whole computer. You know what? When they take the computer, you can't recover anything, but we had Mosey. We had the backup. We were able to restore everything simply by buying another computer. cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and give yourself common sense, peace of mind, great value, the best thing you've ever done. Sooner or later, it's going to be Mosey, the backup people. I like to eat. You like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store, or we have something in the fridge. But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. You know, they say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids, you have a spouse, you have parents, you have dependents, you have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. CPNLive.com, check it out. Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and you know if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. The Fuel Mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The Fuel Mule.